Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Mr. Kyle Cohen. I'm a 4th grade teacher in Cleveland, Ohio, and today we're talking about money. For some reason, having a conversation about money and salary and income is a really uncomfortable conversation for some people. It's not a topic that's often discussed here on YouTube and in the teacher community. We know that teachers typically do not get paid well, but actually having a conversation about what this looks like, how one is able to maintain a life and a lifestyle on a teacher salary, right? All of these things it's kind of a taboo conversation. So I'm ripping off the Band-Aid. We are having what could be an uncomfortable conversation today for some people. I also want to recognize that before I really get into this video, I feel incredibly privileged to have my job at this time. We are living in a global pandemic where countless individuals are without an income right now, where families and large groups of people do not have a job, do not have any stable income, and I do. So before I really get into the bulk of this video, I just wanted to name that. I want to recognize that, to acknowledge the privileges that I have at this time. And I also want to acknowledge that I chose to go into this work. I chose to go into education. I knew what I was signing up for. But with that being said, I'm really excited to share this video with you all today, talking about salary, my story, teacher income. So let's get into it. Back in March, students across the world were removed from their classroom due to the global health crisis that we all have been experiencing. We had a reckoning as a nation here in the United States that we really need our teachers. We saw people from all walks of life really taking to social media and the internet to share their perspective and their stories that now that they have their kids at home, they're really experiencing a lot of challenges that they had no idea that teachers face on a daily basis and that they never really expected to have to deal with. I also want to point out that back in March, we really shed light on the fact that schools are not just a place for learning. We have countless children in this country who rely on school for consistency for getting a meal for breakfast and lunch. We recognize that schools provide kids with consistency in terms of love and support, and how not all kids have those realities at home, how not every single kid in this country has a home where all of those things are true. And back in March, all of this came to light. So we are finding that we need to value our teachers, but it doesn't seem that the conversation is heading to a place of we need to value our teachers in terms of income. During my first year of teaching, I was so excited to be hired as a 4th grade teacher at a local charter school here in the greater Cleveland area. I was excited to finally have my first classroom, to have a group full of students who would be part of my classroom community who I knew were going to have an incredible educational experience. What I did not expect, however, was all of the hours and all of the time and energy it would take to provide my students with that high quality education that they deserve. Now, obviously, I did not become a teacher for the money. Actually, let me show you what I have here. On my desk, I think you'll find this entertaining. On my desk, I have this sign, actually. I became a teacher for the money and the fame, just to, remind myself of what's important. Obviously, I did not become a teacher for the money, but with that being said, I graduated from college with my undergraduate degree. I'm actively pursuing and about to finish my master's degree, and it doesn't necessarily feel that the time, energy, education, and effort that I am putting into my classroom and in my students matches the income and the check that I get from my school and my district. As I was sharing before, during my first year of teaching, I was hired to teach at a charter school where I was earning a salary of $31,000. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with what a day-to-day or week-to-week lifestyle of a teacher might look like, I thought it would be helpful to walk through that with all of you right now. So as I said, I was earning $31,000 during my salary as a teacher in my first year at the school I was working at. So that $31,000 does not include taxes, and I'm actually not even going to discuss taxes in today's video, I'm gonna use $31,000 as the figure for breaking down my income. And this was kind of depressing to do, but anyway, you'll get the point. So actually imagine that $31,000 is the highest possible number that we could be talking about. I actually was earning far less after all the taxes were taken out and things like that. My monthly income with the $31,000 salary, so $31,000 divided by 12 was $2,384, meaning my weekly income was $596. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, but you have the summers off. You have the winter breaks off, the spring breaks, all the other days. Totally true. But I'm going to walk you through what a week in my life looked like as a first-year teacher. On a typical day, I would arrive to work at about 7 a.m. My students would be allowed into the building at 8 a.m., and I needed at least an hour to get my life together. There were some days I got to work at 6:30, there were some days I got to work at 7:30, but 7 a.m. is a safe time as to when I would arrive to school on an average day. I would leave work about 5 p.m. And you have to think about all that it is I'm doing. Even though my contract would say I need to be at work from 7:45 until 3:30, I had a lot to do that I couldn't fit into those hours. Things like grading, lesson planning, creating engaging instruction, preparing the materials, copying the materials, making anything I would need to make for my lessons. I would need to communicate with families, communicate with my coworkers, my team members. I might have to communicate with administrators. Maybe we have meetings after work, before work, staff meetings. All of these things that cannot occur during the actual school day, because during the school day, we're teaching kids. So we have all of these obligations that we have to do in order to effectively teach our students, but we kind of have to do that on our own time. So for me, I would get to work at 7. I would try to leave by 5. There were some days I would be there until 6 or 7. There were other days I would get out of there right at 4:30, but on average, just for the purposes of this video, we're gonna say I worked from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That means that I was working 10 hours a day on average. So 10 hours a day times 5 days a week. I was working about 50 hours a week. I'm not going to include any of the hours I spent working on the weekends. I would clock probably 10 more hours on the weekends, but I'm not going to include that because I didn't have to do that. I'm taking my weekly income of $596. I am dividing that by the 50 hours I worked a week during my first year to come out with earning $11.92 as a first-year teacher in Cleveland, Ohio. $11.92 as my hourly wage as a teacher. And when I share that out loud to you, it makes me think of a lot of things. It makes me think of my overwhelming privilege. I am so fortunate that I have a family that during my first year of teaching, I was able to stay at my parents' house. I was actually able to live at my parents' house during my first year of teaching, which as a 22-year-old who just graduated from college wasn't something I was really excited to be doing, as a lot of my friends were moving to big cities and taking on big incomes in their corporate jobs. But I was, I chose to do this. I had no option but to live at my parents' house for that year. And I lived at my parents' house. I was really lucky, beyond lucky, to have a car that I was gifted at the age of 16. So I didn't have a car payment, I didn't have a house payment or any of the bills that come with that. And honestly, my family was so generous to even provide me with most of my meals. Again, I'm continuing to recognize my overwhelming privileges here. I'm currently at a new school in a new district now in my 3rd year of teaching, and I fortunately am making a little bit more money than in my first year at that first school. And I look around at the coworkers who have spouses and children and much larger bills than even I have right now, and I don't know how they do it. It is the unfortunate reality that going into education means that you are making some huge sacrifices for what your life is going to look like and for what the lives of your future families or current families might look like. And although that is the current reality, it does not mean that it needs to be our future reality. Let's continue this conversation. Let's continue to push for change in the field of education. And I'm really excited that I am putting this out there and that we are all able to engage in this conversation together. I'm asking you to leave a comment down below sharing your experiences and your thoughts on all things education, teaching in the pandemic, what your income and salary and all of those things means to you and your family and your loved ones, and how we can all be working collectively to push for change, because teachers deserve the best. Teachers deserve the most, and I am so excited to further this conversation with each and every one of you. If you have not already done so, make sure you hit that red subscription button down below so that you do not miss out on any future videos. As always, I so appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.